I think one that dives into detail. I've spent quite a few weeks looking back at some of the previous entries just to get an idea of the challenges people have been up against and what they've been doing to overcome them. And I think the ones that really stand out are the ones that just give us a full picture. I think you can probably tell if someone's spent a few minutes just cobbling it together. We need a bit of a story. I don't want firms to be afraid to show us how good they are. It's a chance to show off a bit, and I think it's one that they should really be taking.
Yeah, I'll build on that because I have judged for a few years, and if I'm honest, sometimes I'm a bit disappointed. Not overall, but with some of the submissions. And there is a kind of, as you say, there's a lack of detail and a sort of, we might as well just apply for this one as well. Yeah. Might get it. And I can sense that straight away. But there's also something else about the ones that stand out and that excite me, maybe even make me feel a bit emotional versus the rest. And that is that they're doing something that's really unique to what they're trying to create in their organization. I really don't want to see, by all means tell me how many trainees you put through a program every year. That's fine. But then what? To me, that doesn't make you Employer of the Year. Employer of the Year, the pretty grand title. I want you to tell me why you are Employer of the Year, and that is huge. And I want it to be very special. I want there to be some surprises. I want you to tell me how you've done what you've done, but in a way that is unique to you because of your customers and your people and what it is that you specifically are trying to generate within your culture. Not just, we do what everyone does, give us an award.
I think within that as well, you use the word Employer of the Year, and it's almost like, what are you doing here and now? It's not about, we've been doing this for a long time. For me, part of it is like, how do you keep it fresh? And it's almost like what you did last year is kind of like, you should be building on that. It's not about, we've always done this. Like, for me, there's something there of almost like setting out this year to get next year's award as well. It's almost like that bit of, what can I do to really kind of push the boundaries? And it's almost like, am I excited by what I'm writing down myself? Am I proud by what I write down myself?
I think you're absolutely right. I think for me, it's certainly around, there's two things. It's purpose. What is the reasons why we do what we do? Why is it the reasons that we come into the workplace to continue to support the rest of our colleagues and the rest of our clients? And it's also about impact. What has been the impact of the things that we've done, whether it's driving change within our culture, whether it's driving our behaviours and values. But what's the impact, and how has that impact then supported growth in the business? And that growth could be around people's aspirations, people's instinct to actually say, I feel really good about coming to work. I've got a sense of purpose and I've got a sense of value. Those things that you can't really measure, but it comes through your people. So I think for me, Employer of the Year is all about everything that you've just said, but it's all about providing that purpose and just demonstrating that evidence and that impact that we've done something above and beyond to make a difference.
Blair, can I pick up on something that you said? That you said you were disappointed, and I think I get that. And I was a judge, and I was almost disappointed of is this really the best that accountants and bookkeepers are doing? I can do better. So for me, there was almost like this whole kind of bit of going, right, I'm gonna set off with a kind of a passion of, I'm gonna get that, and it's gonna give me purpose.
Yeah, I think that's right. And I sometimes wonder if there are firms out there that don't apply, that are doing really extraordinary stuff, and we just don't know about it.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons I feel passionately about people actually applying, making a submission, because we can only judge the ones we see. So, if you think you're better, just as you did, mission in if there's still time.
Yeah.
I'll dive in. From what I've seen from last year's entries, examples are great. I think it's probably quite easy to say we've done X, we've done Y, we've done Z, but we want to see how that works in practice. If a firm says we've invested in our staff, okay, that's great. But what does that look like? Have you introduced training programs? Has it improved your retention rate? Has hiring become a bit easier? I want a real picture of not just the what, but what's come after it. You could write, we've done loads of different things, and that's great in principle. But I think the stuff that's really had an impact and has changed the way the firm performs, or the way the firm works, will probably make you stand out than just listing off however many things that it is that you're working on.
Yeah, I one of the things that I've seen as well is that sometimes the pieces are disconnected. There's a lot of activity, but what was there an identification of what it was? Was it a problem that they were trying to solve, or was it something they cared passionately about that they were going after? And then what did they put in place, and how are all these different initiatives interconnected? And then absolutely, what has been the impact and the connection between impact on people, but then how has that driven the impact on the client ultimately? Are clients noticing a difference, and are they better served as a result? Because you can create a great place to work, but that doesn't translate into customer excellence.
For me as well, the whole kind of process should be an element of kind of reflection of it should feel quite emotional filling it out. It should, you should feel a sense of pain, because actually it's not easy achieving what you're achieving. And for me, it's like that bit of, if you write and go, that was cool, we just did this, this and this, it's probably not going to be a great submission. Whereas actually, if you kind of mention what didn't quite work and what you did differently, for me, that's like the real, we've really taken this seriously, and we're trying to embed this culture because we believe it's going to make a difference, and it is going to be challenging, and we want to hear some of that challenges.
Yeah, it's the reasoning, isn't it? I don't think it's a bad thing to say we tried something and it didn't work. You're right. It's so long as it's the right reason for doing it. If you've identified the problem and say, look, okay, we tried to solve it with this, it didn't work, but we identified the problem and we had a go. This is what we're going to try and do next time, and it did work. So no one gets everything right first time, and there's no shame in admitting it. I think it probably makes you come across a bit better.
Yeah, and I think providing testimonials, certainly from your employees. One of the things that I've seen recently is a lot more video testimonials, and I think it's great where you can really sort of capture the essence of how people feel, how people react when they say it from the heart. So, I'd certainly advocate anything where you can get that demonstrated through. When I say demonstrate, I do mean it, rather than just asserting and saying we've done this, but actually how can you demonstrate that through what people say and what people feel, and actually how has that changed the way they do things? So, that's certainly something that I would advocate and support.
Yeah, and sometimes the videos have changed my mind, for the better. Yeah. The submission itself, the written submission, might have been a bit dry, or I couldn't quite understand what it was that they'd created, and then I see photos or videos of actual staff speaking, and I'm like, oh, it's that kind of organisation. All right, yeah, I get it now. And then I go back and reread. It's like, okay, it was in there. Because not everyone's brilliant at writing stuff, so sometimes that combination can really change a job.
I think what's interesting there is who's involved in the application process as well. So I don't think it should be one person who's pulling this together. I don't think necessarily it should always be the leader who drives some of this kind of like application process. I think the more people you involved and the more kind of like rounded, you'll get some very different perspectives. And for me, that's the kind of the bit here of, it's not the leader's view of it, it's the team's view of things.
I can jump in on that because there's been something that I noticed for the first time. In fact, one of the other judges pointed it out to me, which is submissions that were written by ChatGPT. And we ran some of the submissions through a bit of software to see, and sure enough, if you are so lazy that you can't actually write it yourself, and you just get ChatGPT or whatever you're using to write it for you, we will know. And I mean, not only will we know, but that is the opposite of what we're looking for, because we are looking for something that moves us. We're looking for something that makes us feel something, that makes me, a non-accountant, think, I kind of wish I'd become an accountant so I could work at your place. We should feel something, and we're not going to feel something if you rush something off at the last moment, or if you get AI, even if you roughly you get AI to tidy it up. I don't think that's the job, and I think that we will spot it, and we won't. Well, certainly I won't like it.
What's very similar to that is, if you're going to enter different award categories, I think each category needs its own application. So it's that bit of, we're looking for specific things within each section, and so answer the questions specifically. Don't do a general application and go, oh, I can enter this one, and this one, because again, I think you're going to miss the mark.
It might sound really obvious, but I think, we've had a bit of a deep dive there into what a good entry looks like. I think a common mistake is just the opposite of all that. Something lacking a lot of detail. You can probably tell when it's been quite rushed. We want entries that are given care and attention, because like you've touched on, if you can't even be bothered getting that right, you're probably not the employer of the year.
I guess from my perspective, it needs to be genuine. So, like, we've worked really, really hard to be an employer of choice, and we've worked really, really hard to kind of do things in a completely different way. And so it feels as though we are trying to do some very big experiments. Some of them work, some of them don't. So I think some of it is like, be excited, use it as a bit of a reflection to kind of like, what are you doing well, what could you improve on? So I think accounting excellence it's a brilliant award, because the breadth of people that are kind of involved. So we were up against Sage, and it's like, well, we're a small firm in Bristol with less than 15 employees, and we're up against a $2 billion business. It's kind of like, it blows your mind to a certain extent. So for me, that bit of even being in the running with a kind of like a larger firm was like incredible, and it's like, well, how did that ever happen? But I think then also the evening, it's great to just kind of see familiar faces, meet new people. It's a nice way to just kind of like stop and celebrate, win or be in the running. Like, it's an exceptional night. So I think like the ability of being able to kind of like have that conversation with the team in terms of like how we've been recognised as employer of the year is kind of incredible, because I think like sometimes you always want a little bit more, but there's actually been an element here of going, shit, we are different. We are trying to kind of push the boundaries, and it's been recognised. And I think from our perspective, it almost gave us that kind of permission of let's keep kind of pushing it more and more. Like, we don't want to stop. We genuinely want to create this work environment where, imagine if we could have a queue of people wanting to work for us. And for me, that's almost like it gives us that credibility, but also like the drive to do more. So yeah, like it blew us away. It still sits there on the kind of the shelf, and quite often we'll kind of pull it off and go, look guys, are we consistently playing our best game? And like even today we've had a conversation around feedback, and actually feedback is really important for us to be a great employer. Are we being honest with each other? And like if something's frustrating, are we having those conversations? So for me, it's that bit of, it's great to be recognised, but it's also then great to kind of reflect back 12 months on and just make sure we're continuing to do what we did and more.
I think the great thing about this category is that it's relevant to, you know, whether you're a small enterprise or, you know, the very largest enterprise, is that you know, there are certain trends that I think around employee development, around sort of recruitment and retention. You know, what are you doing to continue to sort of drive, you know, positive behavior within your team. I also think is some of the wider issues around sort of diversity and inclusion. You know, what is the business doing around supporting more diversity, more inclusion in the workplace, innovation and operational excellence. These are the things that, you know, drive, you know, the way in which businesses grow. I think, you know, evidencing some of that would be really helpful, but also about just employee feedback. Again, you know, we love to hear about what employees are saying about the firm, what's the culture, and how is that being embedded within the firm. And ultimately, it's around the creativity and sort of collaboration around customer service. You know, because ultimately, you know, we're here to, you know, serve our clients and our customers. And, you know, how is the work that you do as Employer of the Year, you know, resonating with the service that you provide, and anything else like, you know, supporting the local community and any other initiatives around. You know, how does the business go above and beyond, you know, what they do as their duty as an employer? So I think there's lots of trends, and I think there's lots of hopefully some examples that, you know, firms can take from, you know, just some of the things that I've outlined, and there's so many more. But yeah, I'd certainly say those are the sort of the key areas. You know, ultimately in our profession, you know, we're all about our people. You know, we sort of, you know, do what we do because of the people that we work with, engage with, and it's the one that makes us most proud. You know, as a firm, where we provide training and learning for other businesses, you know, it's through our people that we find how we can continue to sort of sustain our growth. So I think it's one of those where, because, you know, it's about the people that drive the business, the behaviors in which you want to try and instill. It feels like a category which, you know, is really competitive, and I'm sure people will want to be sort of fighting tooth and nail to win that award. So it's one that, you know, we're really proud to sponsor and support, and we've been doing it for the last few years as well, so, and I'm pretty sure that we'll continue to do so in the future.
As an entrant, if you could only win one award, it's got to be this one. So I think from a sponsor's point of view, it's the one that I would like. I am the most proud of, but it's the one that if I could only have one award, it would definitely be Employer of the Year. Like,
oh, that's fantastic to hear. Yeah.
And so that's me, why that category.
And it just gives the team a boost as well, in terms of, you know, the lift that it gives that business. and because people want to work for businesses that are successful, that take care of their people, that are passionate about the things that they do. And I think this category sort of resonates with all of that as well. So
for me, it's a firm that doesn't sit still, one that knows they're operating in an industry that's always changing, always moving, and they keep moving with it. I always think that's very commendable, because there are a lot of challenges, and it is an industry where there's just always a lot going on, be it in the industry or outside of it. And to have the awareness that really, if you don't keep up, you're going to get left behind is worth celebrating.
For me, it's the gold standard of the accounting and bookkeeping industry. Like, without a shadow of a doubt, it's a fantastic award to get.
Yeah, for me, I think accounting excellence means that you could compete with organizations that are not accounting firms. So that, if you were up against an architecture firm and a tech company and a consultancy of some kind, that you would still be excellent, not just excellent for an accountant. And I think that we are increasingly seeing really forward-thinking organizations involved in accounting excellence, really forward-thinking firms that are taking a cue, not just from what's happening within accountancy, but what's happening in all sorts of other industries, and they are inspired by that, and they're transforming the industry by looking outside, not looking in.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's all about driving positive change, and having that mantra, that we want to be the best that we want, we can be. And having innovation at the heart of what we do, within our industry, things don't move very quickly. So if we've got firms that are continually saying, actually, what we're doing is not good enough, we need to do better, we need to do more. So it's about driving that behavior, through your people, through continually not sitting still and saying, actually, we want to continue to do well for our business, but also to excel within the profession, to try and drive the profession forward, because it's these little things that firms do, whether it's in how they develop software, whether it's in a way of working, that actually helps the industry as a whole to move forward. So I'd say, yeah, anything to do with driving positive change is always good.
I just hope there's a disco ball.
Are you saying that, Jonathan, because there was one last time, or there wasn't
It was
one?
a massive one. It was like literally, I can't do my arm. So it was like that big. It was huge.
That does sound quite good, actually.
I mean, it's a great evening. I think to be in the room with your peers, and there's people that you only meet once a year because they go to that event. It's a fantastically organised. It's one of the highlights of the Mercier calendar. We all sort of fight, we get a table and we're sort of fighting as to who, because we try and invite some clients as well, because they really enjoy it as well. So for us, it's an absolute highlight, and we can't wait for it when it comes around.
Yeah. I mean, if you've never been, I don't think you can conceive of the scale of it. There's something when you walk in, there's the drinks before, and then you walk into the room where the awards are going to be, and all the tables and the food and everything, and I normally sort of gasp because it's just huge. There's so many people, and everyone looks so incredible, and it smells great, and the food is always beautifully served up, and then there's someone normally kind of hilarious doing the awards, and just the whole thing feels very, very special. You feel very special to be there. And I'm always a bit jealous, the judges are always off in some, table at the back, kind of hidden at the back. And all the beautiful accountants are in the main area, and I just always think, oh, I wish I was down there, but then they're having the time of their lives.
Do you know, I've never been, but that has set quite a high bar. My expectations are through the roof all of a sudden.
I think the take of a comedian is always great. I remember Catherine Ryan a couple of years ago, and she was exceptional. So for me, it's someone to bring a bit of fun and entertainment to the evening is always a win.
I think you're absolutely right, Jonathan. I think someone of sort of a Jimmy Carr, really sort of taking the mickey. I mean, I love someone who just picks on individuals and just rips the heart out of them. It's just and it's great because every we're sort of laughing with everyone, so it's not like they're being picked on. It's just a great fun evening. It really is. It's very light-hearted, and I think no one takes it that seriously. So
we could do the Super Bowl though and have kind of Taylor Swift or Beyonce
roast.
Yeah.
Would be great. Those sort of tickets that you just can't get your hands on, and then you get there and there's Taylor Swift. Yeah, I agree. I've seen a few of the comedians, and I think that they are brilliant at kind of understanding the industry just enough to poke fun, but without undermining what everybody is for a living, and what they care about. And I think that's always great. It's such a treat. Like you just don't get to see those people normally. So someone funny.
While I doubt many firms get into business for the recognition, I suspect, and Jonathan, you're probably as best placed as anyone to tell me, it will be nice just to get some every so often, and I think this is the perfect event for it. I've spoken to a few previous winners over the past few weeks, and they've all spoken highly about how much they enjoyed showing off their win, and this is as good an opportunity as any to do that, I think.
For me, you've put the hard work in to kind of create your business and kind of create a great place to work. This is almost an opportunity for you to kind of reflect on that hard work that you've done, and in your mind there's a sense of pride of doing that like Matthew said, then if someone can then kind of recognize it, why not?
I think we have to see examples that inspire us in order to recognize what might be possible for us. And so, yes, you get the recognition and you get the opportunity to reflect on what you've done and to share that with the industry. But then, if you inspire one other firm by what you've done to do better themselves for their people, then I think that's a reason to get your submission in.
Yeah, and I'd certainly advocate that because, per se, just huge recognition, just to be even nominated, because there's a huge integrity in terms of the judging, the way it's judged. So I think even just to be nominated and to be in that mix, again, that creates a good, great lift to the business, and it sort of demonstrates that to that business that they're doing the right thing. So I'd certainly say, if they're halfway through it or just about to actually send the submission in before the deadline.
And if you entered last year and you didn't get nominated or win it, prove us wrong. Like, show us why you should have won it in previous years. So for me, it's that bit of be relentless